I've never been a friend of Angelo Mazzillo, and am not now, never have been.
After 7 months of stonewalling, Connecticut Senator Chris Dodd this week finally addressed allegations of sweetheart mortgage deals from former Countrywide Financial CEO Angelo Mazzillo. Well, sort of. The chairman of the Senate Banking Committee invited a select group of reporters to his Hartford office for a quick peek. No photocopying allowed. At more than 100 pages of documents related to a pair of mortgages he refinanced through Countrywide's so-called Friends of Angelo program. Hartford Courant columnist Kevin Rennie is here with the details. Kevin Rennie, welcome. Great to have you here. You've been dogging. You've been dogging this story, following it. Did you get invited to the press conference?
I did not. And my messages don't get returned or my emails acknowledged. So I wasn't very surprised.
Not part of the inner circle, but you've been following the story. What did we really learn this week from the senator's press conference and documents?
Well, we learned that the senator is now going to rely on stunts to try to convince the public that he is telling it something, when in fact I think opinions have hardened in Connecticut that this was indeed a sweetheart deal, and he is doing everything he can to keep it a secret.
But he introduced some documents, a consultant's report, saying that in fact the evidence is he didn't get any special treatment. How persuasive was that?
Well, it isn't very persuasive when you read it. In fact, it's very selective in the comparisons that it makes, and it also assumes that every borrower, every good deal that was available would be condensed into a deal for each borrower. And so only Christopher Dodd and his wife got that kind of deal. They got every advantage. Most borrowers would get one or two advantages, but not all of them.
Well, the Portfolio magazine,
that was the difference.
Portfolio magazine estimated when this first started that he and his wife would have saved about $70,000 on two mortgages over the life of the loans. When you look at the specific benefits he may have received, what were they? Lower interest rates? Were they points off that he wouldn't have had to pay? What?
A lower interest rate. Even the report really inadvertently shows that. No reduction in fees, and in addition, he got the float down, which is from the time he locked in his mortgage until the time he had his mortgage closing. The interest rate was reduced for free.
That's fascinating.
And the deal that he originally made, with the bank, was sweetened quite a bit between that time and the time that he actually did the loan.
Now, in terms of the senator's intent, he said he never really knew that he was a VIP. But Robert Feinberg, a former Countrywide official, has said, who handled this program, has said that in fact the senator did know that he was a VIP, and that was the whole point of the program. Why else have a VIP program if the VIPs didn't know who they were? Were there any? I heard that there was some writing on some of the documents that FOA for Friend of Angelo and VIP on a couple of those documents. How significant is that?
Well, he said, Dodd says that these are documents that he had never seen before. What I think would be significant, and they didn't release this, would be the communications between Dodd or Dodd's wife and Robert Feinberg. But those were not included. In fact, I think it's important to note that a chunk of the documents that he let reporters see for a few minutes were already on the land records in Washington and in Connecticut. So a lot of this was not new. It's just that many of the reporters had not gone and seen those standard mortgage documents that every bank records on land records. But it makes the pile look thicker. And Chris Dodd is now into symbolism on this whole mess that he has created and made worse and worse and worse with each invention of facts that he has thrown out there.
Well, you made an interesting point earlier. You said opinions have hardened in Connecticut. Explain that. Is the press corps even more skeptical now after this episode? Is the press going to be more critical? I know that I think one reason Dodd came forward was the Hartford Courant wrote a tough editorial saying, "Let's come clean, Senator."
Yes.
Is the press corps in Connecticut going to keep after him?
I think the press corps is catching up with the public. I found when I was really the only one writing about this the second half of last year, that really people were paying attention to it, and they were quite fascinated with it because it's something everyone can understand.
Everybody gets a mortgage, yeah.
Sure, right, and but very few people get the kind of deal the Dodds did, particularly two of them, and and so the press now, I think, is catching up and understanding that this is a story in which Connecticut's senior United States senator, who's been in Washington for 35 years, is starting to look desperate. And at each turn, he tells us he has a concoction that turns out not to be true. And, for instance, the whole issue of when he was going to release documents went on for months.
All right.
And
well, we're going to be counting.
He is making up things as he goes along.
Kevin, Rennie, we're going to be counting on you to keep following this story. Thank you very much for being here.